Hi everyone, welcome back to another session of Lightning Web Components. In this session, we are going to talk about combo boxes in LWC. Okay, so let's just get started with an example. So here I have created a component. Here you can see that I have created a combo box. So the challenge with combo boxes are, let's say if you want to do some kind of manipulation in the, you want to receive the value of these labels that you see in the combo box, and then you want to do some kind of manipulation on the values that you receive, right? So the challenge is to how to get the values of these labels that you select. Okay, because here if you see, if I select any of these values, right? So what I am seeing is actually the label and not the value. The value is something that is there in the backend, right? So if I select, let's say, in progress, so here I've displayed the value for you, but this value I've set it in the static data that I've set for this particular combo box. Okay, but let's say if you want to do some kind of manipulation on the based on the selected label of the combo box, then in that case you would be needing the value, right? That what is the respective value which is available for that particular label that you are selecting, right? So what I'm going to show you, first of all, I am going to create a static set of options along with the label and value set, and then I will pass that option to the HTML file, and we are going to use the lightning-combobox tag in order to display this, and we will also be displaying the value behind the label. All right, so let's just go ahead and get started. If you're not getting the point, you will exactly understand what I'm talking about when I actually move on to the next point in this session, wherein I would be fetching the data from the Apex class. I'm going to fetch some kind of values, or let's say list of accounts, and then those accounts I would be passing on the combo box. And on the combo box, let's say I will be displaying the list of accounts, and every time you select an account, we will be displaying the account ID in the value part. All right, so let's just first get started quickly, and we will be starting with the static data. So let me go ahead and create a component. So let me go ahead and get started with the HTML file. So first I will create the combo box, lightning combo box tag. Okay. And I am just going to define the attributes that it requires. So I'm just going to give a name to this. Okay. Let's say accounts, and then I will be giving a label. And then I have to give the options, right? Because it's a pick list. So you need to give the options. You have to feed in the options. So options, and here I am just, for now, I'm just going to keep it like this. I would have to define the options in the JS file. Okay. And once I have the options, I also have to give the value. So in value also, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, again, value we would be receiving in the JS file. Okay. So name, label, options, and value. Okay. And here on change, okay, on change event, because the combo box, every time you select a value, that is nothing but an event, right? An event will be fired. That would be on change event. So on change, I would be calling another function over here. Let's just name it as handle on change. Okay. Now I will move on to my JS file. Okay. And let's just go ahead and prepare the options. So I have to, so in order to provide the static values, I'm going to create a getter method, and I will be defining what are the option field, label, and their respective values that I want to provide. I can basically define that in the getter method. Okay. So this is how you write a getter method. So get options. Okay. And here in this method, we will be returning an array of object. Okay. So in array of object, this is how you have to define the values. So this is the object structure, right? This is the object structure. So here, what and all I have to give? I have to give the label and the value. Okay. So label I would be giving as sorry, it has to be column and not equals to. So column, and let's just say account 1. Okay. And then I will also give the value. And let's just give it as value 1. Okay. And I will copy this, paste it here. Let's make it as account 2 and value 2. Okay. So this is my options. Okay. And here what I will do is I'm going to go and define something to the value initially, right? Because initially there'd be nothing which would be selected in the values, right? So I'm just going to keep it as empty. Okay. So I am keeping it as empty because initially there'll be nothing assigned to it. Okay. So this is my value. And then here, now what do I want? I want to basically every time if I go back here, every time I open this and I select a new value, right? If I click on new, then what I want the value that is selected for this particular label, right? This is nothing but a label. So what is the value for this label that I want to receive? And how I can receive it? I have to use the onChange function. Okay. And this function will only be called when an event is fired, right? An onChange event is fired. So this function, and I will be passing event. You need to pass the event because this will only be called when the event is, when an onChange event is fired. Okay. And here, what I have to do is I just have to receive the value that is selected by the user. Okay. So you can get that value from the event. Okay. So event dot detail dot value. All right. So this is how you can get the value. Okay. So what I have done, I have just prepared the options. I've created a getter method, and in that getter method, I'm returning array of these objects. Okay. And I have just defined two set of values, label and their respective values. Okay. And then this options I'm using over here. And similarly for value, what am I doing on the on change event, right? That is when I want to receive the value, right? So on change event, whatever the value that I have in the events detail, that is what I am receiving in this particular value value. Okay. So now let me go ahead and prepare the XML file. And let's deploy this. So here I am just going ahead and dropping this component on this page. And let me just drop it somewhere here. Okay. And let's just save it. So here it is. Okay. Select, this is the component that I just dropped here. Okay. So here, if I click on this, I am seeing the options that I have given, right? Account 1 and account 2. And what are you seeing here? These are the labels, right? If you go to the JS file, and if you look at this, these are the labels that is getting displayed, right? But what I want to do is I want to receive the value, right? That's what I have done. And on this particular event, right, on change event of the combo box, what I'm doing is I'm calling a function, and I know that an event is fired. So in that function, I'm using this event parameter to get the value. Okay. And this is how you get the value, event.detail.value. So that way, whatever I select, I will receive the value for that. Okay. And let's just do one more thing because I want to print the value here, right? So here I will just basically print that value. Okay. So the selected value is, and Let's just deploy this. So whatever the value is received here, right, that should be displayed. So basically whatever I select from the combo box, right there. So whatever I select from the combo box, if I select account one, then the value, this is what should get displayed in the value. If I select this, then this is what should get displayed in the value. Okay, because we are on every event, right, change event, we are receiving the value. Okay, and then displaying it on the HTML. So let me refresh this. Okay, so if I select, let's say account 2, then here you can see the value 2 is displayed. Okay, so if I selected account 2, value 2 is displayed. If I select account 1, then value 1 would be displayed. Okay, so this is how you can achieve it in using static data, right? But let's say if I have another requirement. So what I want to do is I want to display list of accounts here, right? So whatever accounts I have in my system, I want to display all that list of accounts. And the moment I'm selecting any accounts, in the value part, I want to display that selected accounts ID. And by ID, what I mean is this record ID. So for example, let it just open. So let's say if this account is there on one of my options in the combo box. Okay, so if I select this account, then this ID should get displayed in the value. Okay, so that's the agenda that I have for this requirement. Okay, so now let's go here, and in order to fetch the accounts, we would have to create a class, right? So let's just go ahead and create a class. Okay, and I'm not going to use the wire method. I'll be using the imperative method, so I'm not making it as cacheable. Okay, so, and I want to return list of accounts. Okay, here I will simply return. So what all do I need? I just need the account names, right? Because that is account names I want to display in the label, but I also want to receive the ID, okay? Because that's what I want to display in the value. That's what I want to keep in the value, okay? So select ID, name from account, and let's just put a limit to it for 10 accounts. As I have a lot of them in the system, so I'm just only putting 10 in the limit. And let's just deploy this. Now let's just go ahead and import this in the JS file. And let's just give it some name, display ACC. Okay, from okay, so I've imported the method. Now I will just go ahead and first of all, I need to remove this because I don't need the static options anymore, right? I would be displaying I would rather be passing the account names here. Okay, so I am just going to get this emptied and let it be here. Use this method, connected callback. Okay. And here I'm going to use the and if you guys remember, this is how you write imperative method. So here now my agenda is to store the basically to create an array of object having the label and the value separately, right? From this response, okay? So now I will be creating an array, okay? So this is how you can create an array. Okay, now I have this array. What will I do? I'm going to run a loop on result, okay? So yes, where I is equals to 0, I is less than result dot length, right? I want to iterate till we have something in the data. Result dot length, and then I plus plus. All right. And once I have this, what I want to do is I want to basically push. So when you're using array and in order to push the values, you use push function. Okay. So if I do this arr dot push, basically I am trying to push some value into this array. I'm trying to store some value into this array. And here I want to store the values in the form of object, right? So here I will just create an object structure, and here I would be passing label, okay? And label, so label is what? Label is nothing but whatever you have in, so every time with every iteration, what and all you're getting the ID and the name, right? And that is what we want. So with every iteration, what I want to do is I want to keep the result of, so this is basically result, and so from result, what do I want to pick and keep in the label? The name, right? This value. So I will just pick this value and keep it over here, okay? So now here you can see in the label, what I have done from result of every, every record that you have got, for every record, I am picking out the name and putting in the label. And for value, what I would be doing, I'm going to keep the ID, okay? The ID, this I wanted to keep in the value part. So I've kept it here in the ID, okay? So now you have basically push your, you have created your array of objects. Now I will create another array over here. Okay, so let's just make it as ACC options, account options as in, okay? And I'm going to store this array into this particular value, okay? So this dot options is equals to this array, okay? So basically now I have the same structure that we had created for static data, right? What we had done in the static data, we had created something like this, right? We had created something like this, return, and then this is the structure that we had created, right? This was the structure. This was the structure, right? Now I don't need to create that structure because I have already received the result and I have pushed the data into the array into this format, right? So all I have to do is I have to return this array, and where I'm storing this array into this particular array, okay? So here, just copy this and return this, all right? And I think we should be good here. Everything else remains the same, okay? So you will be receiving the response, and from the response, what you're doing is you're iterating over the result, and you are separating the name and the value, and you're keeping in the label and name, forming an object structure, and then pushing it into the array. So basically now the array contains, this is nothing but like it has become an array of objects, right? Because we have pushed the data into this format. And once you have that, you are just basically storing it into another array variable, and then you are returning that in the options. And this options value you are using on your, if you go back to your HTML file, this is what you're using, okay? And value part remains the same because every time you're changing any, selecting any value on the combo box, that value you can receive because an event will be fired, right, on change event, and that you can receive using the event.detail.value. So whatever we will be displaying here should get displayed like, based on the label that you select, right? So all looks good. Let's just go ahead and deploy this. Here we have to use @. Now I think we should be able to deploy this. All right, let's just go here and I think I need to clear the cache and then I can do it. So let me, yeah, what happened? I believe this should be this .dcc options, and let's just keep it here because this, otherwise this goes out of the block, right? So, all right. I mean, this, the where I was assigning it, this was like, going out of scope, right? So that is why this was not in the scope. So let me just apply this. All right, so here you can see that we are getting the, we are at least getting the 10 accounts, right? That's the limit that we have put. So now if I select any of these accounts, so their respective record ID should get displayed, okay? If I, let's say if I select this one, Grand Hotels and Resorts, so this is the account ID that we are getting. Now, if I try to open this particular account, then which account name should I be getting? This one, right? So let me just try to open this record. So first I'll just open a random account. I'll go here, copy this record ID, and then we'll check if this account is getting opened or not, okay? So here you simply have to paste the record ID and enter. So here, right, this is the account that you are, like, you have selected in the label, and then you're getting the respective record ID, okay? So this is how you can, all you have to focus on is this part, okay? How you can, like, when you are receiving the result like this, like, how you can basically push that value into label and the value part, okay? So you basically have to define an array, run a loop on the result, and then in the array that you have defined, you can push the label and value in the form of object, right? So you will have an array of object, and then you can send that array of object to, like, basically you can return that array in your options getter method, and then you can use that options on your combo box in your HTML file, okay? That's what we have done. So this is how you can basically receive a value in the combo box. And let's say if you have any further requirement wherein you want to, like, send this value to, let's say, your, like, back into your Apex controller, and you want to do some kind of, like, some query or filter or some any kind of data manipulation based on the value that you're receiving, right, for that particular label, then you can basically pass that value as a parameter to the Apex method, and then you can use it further, okay? So this was all about combo boxes in LWC. I'll see you in the next session. Bye-bye.